Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're really getting into a specific piece of source material, focusing on a really pivotal moment for Jacob.
That's right. We're looking at this intense period leading up to his reunion or maybe confrontation with his brother Esau. There's a lot packed in here: fear, planning, and then something completely unexpected.
Exactly. So our mission today is to unpack all of that. What's going on in Jacob's head? What's the strategy? And what exactly happens during that mysterious night by the river? We want to pull out the key takeaways for you.
It unfolds pretty logically in the text. We see him start his journey, get some potentially divine reassurance, then immediately switch to practical planning about Esau.
Right. Then the bad news arrives, his reaction, his strategy, both practical and, well, spiritual with the prayer.
And then more planning with the gifts, followed by this wrestling match that seems to come out of nowhere but changes everything.
Okay, let's dive in. The source starts with Jacob heading back home. And boom, right away it says angels of God came to meet him.
Yeah, and his reaction is immediate. This is God's camp. He names the place Mahanaim. It's significant timing, isn't it? Just as he's starting this journey he's dreading.
Mahanaim, God's camp, or maybe two camps. It feels like a sign, or maybe just a reminder that there's more going on than just him and Esau.
It certainly sets a kind of supernatural stage, even as Jacob immediately turns to very human actions.
Which is sending those messengers ahead to Esau down in Seir, in Edom. He doesn't just stumble towards this meeting.
No, he's proactive. He knows it's been 20 years, knows things ended badly. He needs to gauge the situation, maybe soften Esau up a bit.
And the message itself is, well, it's dripping with humility, isn't it?
Oh, completely. Humble greetings from your servant Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
He lays out his success with Laban, the flocks, the servants, but frames it all under my lord Esau.
Is he just being polite, or is there more to listing all that wealth?
It's probably a bit of both. He's showing deference, definitely. Using servant and master repeatedly hammers that home. But listing the wealth, maybe it shows Esau, look, I'm successful, I don't need anything from you, or maybe I'm successful enough to be generous. Either way, it's strategic.
Okay, so strategy deployed, but then the messengers return, and the news is bad.
Yeah, really bad. Esau is coming, all right, but he's bringing 400 men with him.
400 men. That's not a welcoming party. That sounds like an army.
Exactly. The implication is immediately hostile. All Jacob's careful diplomacy seems to have backfired, or at least hasn't worked yet.
And the text is blunt about his reaction. Jacob was terrified. Just pure fear.
Understandably, after 20 years, fearing his brother's unresolved anger and now this news, terror seems like the only possible response. It cuts right through all the planning.
So, driven by this terror, he acts immediately. He splits everyone and everything, family, animals, possessions, into two groups.
Right, the classic two-camp strategy. It's pragmatic. If Esau attacks one, maybe the other can escape. It's damage control, an attempt to hedge his bets, basically.
And then, in the midst of this fear and tactical maneuvering, he prays. And it's a really detailed prayer in the source.
It is. He doesn't just panic. He appeals directly to God, invoking his lineage. God of my grandfather Abraham and God of my father Isaac.
He's grounding his plea in that covenant history, reminding God and maybe himself of the long-standing relationship.
Precisely. And he recalls God's own instruction for him to return and the promise, I will treat you kindly. It's like he's holding God to his word, in a way.
He also expresses this deep sense of unworthiness, doesn't he? Saying he doesn't deserve God's faithfulness, contrasting how he left with just a staff and now has these two huge camps.
Yeah, it's this mix of humility and maybe subtle reminding, look how much you've blessed me, God. All this is now at risk. It acknowledges God's power and generosity while highlighting the current danger.
And then he gets to the point. Please rescue me from Esau. I am afraid he is coming to attack me, along with my wives and children.
That's the heart of it. Raw fear for his family, and then he brings up the promise of descendants, numerous as the sand.
Again, linking his personal survival and his family's survival to the fulfillment of God's bigger promise. It's a very well-constructed plea, even in terror.
Definitely. Faith and fear are really intertwined there.
So prayer done, but Jacob isn't passive. He gets busy again that night. He puts together this massive gift for Esau.
Right, prayer first, but then more human strategy. He's covering all his bases. Divine appeal, tactical division, and now appeasement through wealth.
And it's quite the gift package. The source lists it out. Hundreds of goats, sheep, camels, cows, donkeys, male and female. It's enormous.
It really is. Over 500 animals. This is serious wealth being offered. It shows you the depth of his fear, maybe. He's willing to give up a fortune to try and smooth things over.
And he doesn't just send it all at once. He has this plan.
Yeah, another strategy. He divides the animals into separate herds, each with his own servants, and sends them ahead one by one, with space in between.
Why do that? Why not just one big, impressive delivery?
It's psychology, probably. Esau keeps encountering wave after wave of gifts. Each herd reinforces the message. This is from your servant Jacob. It's a gift for you, my master. He's coming behind us.
So it builds anticipation, maybe wears down resistance with repeated generosity before Jacob even shows up.
Exactly. The source even quotes Jacob's thinking. I will try to appease him. When I see him in person, perhaps he will be friendly. He's hoping this relentless display of tribute will change Esau's mood.
Okay, so the gifts are on their way. The plan is in motion. Then, still that same night, Jacob moves his family across the river, the Jabbok.
Right. His wives, his sons, all his remaining possessions. He makes sure they are all safely on the other side.
Leaving himself. Where?
Alone. The text specifically says this left Jacob all alone. He ensures the safety of everything he was trying to protect and then deliberately isolates himself. It feels like a threshold moment.
And it is. Because that's when the story takes this sharp turn. While he's alone, a man came and wrestled with him until the dawn began to break.
Out of nowhere. All the focus has been on Esau, the external threat. Now it's his sudden, intense physical struggle with an unnamed figure in the dark.
And it's a serious fight. It goes on all night. The source says the man realizes he can't win just by wrestling.
Which is fascinating, isn't it? It implies Jacob is holding his own, maybe even prevailing in sheer endurance or strength.
So the man changes tactics. He touches Jacob's hip socket and wrenches it out of place. An instant, painful injury.
A display of a different kind of power, perhaps. Not brute force, but something more targeted, almost supernatural, that can disable with a touch.
As dawn breaks, the man wants to leave. But Jacob, injured as he is, refuses to let go.
Yeah, he clings on, and his demand is crucial. I will not let you go unless you bless me.
So in the middle of this fight, possibly fearing for his life moments before, he recognizes this isn't just a random attacker. There's power here, the power to bless.
Exactly. The struggle transforms from mere survival to seeking something more, something spiritual or divine. He endured the fight. Now he wanted the blessing that comes from it.
The man asks his name. Jacob, he replies.
Acknowledging his old identity, the supplanter, the struggler right before it's changed forever.
And then the man gives him the new name. Your name will no longer be Jacob. From now on, you will be called Israel.
Israel. And the meaning is given right there. Because you have fought with God and with men and have won.
That's huge. He's redefined not just by struggling, but by winning that struggle, a struggle explicitly stated as being with both God and humans.
It encapsulates his whole life, perhaps, but elevates this night's encounter to a divine level. He wrestled with the divine and somehow prevailed.
Jacob tries to get the man's name, but he deflects, asking, "Why do you want to know my name?" Then he blesses Jacob right there.
The focus stays on Jacob's transformation and the blessing received, rather than definitively labeling the opponent. The mystery kind of remains.
Jacob, though, seems to have his own understanding. He names the place Peniel,
Meaning face of God. His explanation is direct. I have seen God face to face, yet my life has been spared. He clearly interprets the encounter as being with God himself.
and he walks away from Peniel changed. As the sun rises, the source says he was limping.
The injury is real and lasting. It's a physical reminder etched onto his body of that night's struggle, the encounter, the blessing, the transformation. He carries the cost and the reward with him.
And the text connects this directly to a later custom. Even today, the people of Israel don't eat the tendon near the hip socket because of Jacob's injury that night.
It shows how deeply this story is embedded in the identity of his descendants, a dietary practice that constantly recalls this formative moment of wrestling, wounding, blessing, and renaming.
So to kind of pull this together, we see Jacob move from this place of deep fear about Esau, using very human, intricate strategies,
Dividing camps, sending lavish gifts, all very calculated.
to this sudden, solitary, almost surreal wrestling match that seems to shift everything internally.
Right. He emerges from it wounded, yes, but also blessed, and with this new identity, Israel, defined by having successfully contended with both the human and the divine.
It's quite a journey just within these verses. From tactical preparation against a human enemy to this profound identity-shaping struggle.
It really highlights that intersection of human effort, vulnerability, and unexpected divine encounter.
Okay, so here's something to chew on, thinking about that name Israel and its meaning given in the text. You have fought with God and with men and have won. What does it really mean to win a struggle like that? A struggle where you face God and men, emerge wounded but also blessed, and where your opponent, in a sense, yields by inflicting that wound rather than by being overpowered. What kind of victory leaves you limping but renamed and declared a winner against such opposition?